Hey everybody, welcome to our channel co-know-pro. In this video, we're going to be building a live edge side table out of this old piece of maple. This piece of maple has been sitting in the yard for about 15 years and we're going to make something out of it. So stay tuned on this video and see what we do. So we're going to be building that little side table out of this piece of maple, and we're going to be building the legs are a walnut, solid walnut, and that top is a maple. We're going to be adding a glaze to the top, and we're also going to be giving it a decorative stippling, like a honeycomb texture on the bottom of the table. So stay tuned and see how we do it. So basically, we're going to be building this table, you know, with the basic tools. We don't have it. This is not a mill. We don't have this slab pre-cut. So basically what we're doing is we're taking a chainsaw and we just have it screwed with the little screw in the back end, that sawhorse right there, so it's stable and the screws doesn't go all the way through, so that way the chainsaw blade is going to hit it. And then we mark about 2 inches, and then we just basically just cut it with the chainsaw all the way down and just eyeballed it 2 inches. Now you can get slabs pre-cut, which would be the best thing to do, and they won't come out you know, this live edge style that I like to call it, because basically when I build live edge tables, I like them to be live edge everywhere, the tops, the bottoms, the sides. You know, if you take a router, you can get a router and you can get your router, you know, your slide guard table, and you can slide it back and forth, and you can get your router edge and everything will be really perfect and square. But that's not what I'm looking for. When I build live edge tables, I like them to be live edge on all 4 edges basically. So I'm taking a hand planer and I'm just going to go through and plane it down and get it as level as I want it. Okay, now this is sort of freestyle woodworking right here. There's no plans, there's no anything. I'm just coming up with it as I'm building. Okay, I didn't watch any videos, I didn't do anything like that. This is just me doing woodworking and just messing around, you know, after work at my property, because typically I'm a general contractor. I remodel houses, we do additions, we do remodels and stuff like that. But this is just a project that I'm doing, you know, just to show you guys on the channel. I love to show you all different things, woodworking, whatever. And this was a really fun project that I wanted to do to film and put on the channel for you guys. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm taking a die grinder and I have a burr bit from Cutsaw and I'm giving it a stippling edge. Basically what that's doing is it's giving it a texture. You can call it stippling. A lot of wood carvers will call this stippling, and you use a little mini burr bit. Now this is a big burr bit, so it gives it that honeycomb texture, which is more of a art design on my part. It's not really, you know, it doesn't serve any function or anything, but it gives it a really, really cool edge. And you'll see at the end how awesome it comes out. It comes out so cool that I'm going to be building other pieces of furniture with that same design on it. So basically now I'm going to be sanding down the live edge on these sides and giving it the reveal that I want. Okay, I'm taking away some of the naturalness, but then leaving a lot of it as well, a lot of the live edge, because you want those, you know, natural edges, hence the live edge piece. So now I'm taking a palm sander and I'm just gonna go through and I'm gonna sand it down. I'm gonna sand it down with 60 grit, then 80, 150, and then I'll hit it with 220, then 320. And yeah, that seems like a lot, but when you're in the mood and you're in the groove of just sanding, it goes through pretty quickly. You can use a belt sander as well. Like I say, if you have a whole wood shop, you know, then you can be running this through a table planer. You know, you would have used your router, and then everything would have been routed totally smooth and square and flush, and then, you know, you can hit it through the table planer. My table planer is not this wide, so I couldn't run it through my table planer. So I just decided to do it this way. And a lot of people don't have a lot of that equipment, so this is a cool way to show it. Like, a lot of people are woodworkers and they want to build a live edge table, but they just don't have all this crazy space or the tools, you know. So this video, if you go through and you watch it again, you'll see I'm just using basic tools. That chainsaw wasn't an expensive chainsaw from Home Depot. You can just grab a chainsaw and, you know, grab a planer. You can even rent the little hand planer if you want, you know, or you can rent a router or buy one. For me, they're good investments. But anyway, so now I'm taking pieces of solid 2x2 walnut and I'm cutting them with a 22.5 degree cut on both ends. Okay, so of course you measure how high you want your table, and then you cut your legs according to the height of the table that you're building. So basically what I did is I cut my walnut, and I put that degree on it, and then I put it, and I'm just basically finding a nice corner where I want it to start. Okay, and then I go, okay, that's nice, and I'm just gonna go ahead and lock it in right here. I'm gonna, I'm not router, but I'm gonna basically use my multi-purpose tool, and I'm gonna plunge cut down, and then I take a chisel, and then I'm gonna chisel out everything, and I'm gonna give it that angle, that chisel cut, that mortise basically joint that I'm creating right here, where it's going to be mortised into the wood, that I'm giving it that 22-degree cut, so that way when the wood slides in, it has a 22-degree sort of angle. It slides in, and then when you put pressure on the legs, it locks into that more, that angle right there, and it helps it actually be more stable from downward pressure as far as weight going on top of the table. And so once I have one leg set, then I can square off that leg. Okay, so then I can make sure those two on that my left side, our right side, if you're viewing, I just make sure that they're the right measurement from that side, and then I just square off that, and then I use my square and I go over. It looks unsquare on that left line. That's because the wood is not square. So you want your legs to be basically all square and lined up with each other. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking my multi-purpose tool, which was what I was using to do the plunge cuts, and I just marked with the pencil, and then I took a piece of electrical tape and I'm marking that line, so that way I know the same depth. I can plunge cut, and for all my other joints right here, I can plunge cut to the same depth as my first hole, and then I can chisel everything out and give it basically the same reveal. Okay, and then you see the left one needs a little bit more, so then you set them both, and then you're okay, the left one needs a little bit more, and you can sort of eyeball it. Like I say, this is all freestyle woodworking right here. So if you want to go through and do this way, it's a really fun project, and it's cool, and you'll see you can do so many different things this way. So now what I did is I basically, after I have all my legs set, I flipped it. Okay, and the legs might fall out, whatever, it doesn't matter because it's all dry fit. And then I set that 2x2 and I screwed it in to my table, and then that way I have a square edge, and then I clamped it. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring them up so I have the spread between legs that I want. Okay, and then I have the spread between both sides going both ways of my legs. You want to make sure you have the same spread. You don't want to have your your right side of your table, your legs are spread 12 inches, and on your left side your legs are spread 16 inches. I mean, it may look a little funny, it may work out fine, but I like everything to look basically square, geometrical, symmetrical, whatever. Like everything has to basically look really nice and square to me. That's the way I like to build. So I like to make sure all my spreads are proper and everything's good. So we put horizontals, and then we put on both sides to lock everything together once we had everything level to the level that I wanted. Now we're using a JB Weld. Okay, and then this JB Weld is really strong. Okay, this JB Weld combined with the super glaze locks these legs in like you wouldn't believe. So then now we're just going to set that. And you saw how we flipped it, and we just pulled the piece out, and then we just set it, and now we just pushed it back down in there. Boom, there it is. And then we wait a day, 24 hours, and then you come back and you can remove all the clamps, and then you'll see just the JB Weld alone is holding. But don't trust that just by itself. I mean, it is a very strong product, but you're still going to want to, you'll see what I do here in a little while, and lock it down. So this is really strong. This table will last for a long, long time, and it takes so much weight. I mean, 3 of us stood on this table, and it was holding our weight. So now it's very strong right there with the JB Weld, like I said, but don't trust that. You see how everything's square, and you can see everything's raw, and I got that nice honeycomb texture on the bottom, everything. This is a beautiful table. Just if you just cleared it right now, fine. But if so, and you're not going to do the steps that I want to do coming up as far as locking those legs in, then I would say at the very least countersink and toenail some screws in with some plugs into that top with your walnut. So now I'm taking some of that JB Weld. Okay, that JB Weld I've been using for years, and it's a cool product. It dries in 5 minutes. So you just mix it. It's a 2-part, basically product that you do equal parts and you just mix them, and then you have 5 minutes, and then to work it in, and then it's going to dry. So I like to put that into my real deep voids. And what's really awesome about it, like I say, it dries in 5 minutes, and then you can start sanding it in like 20, and then it's ready to go for glaze really fast. And it really gives a really nice clear as far as filler goes. It's really clear. It doesn't amber, it doesn't turn colors on you. It's really nice. So once I have that done, cool, now I'm gonna glaze the bottom. I like to glaze the bottom first, and that way if there's any drips that fall onto the top edge, I can sand them later when I do the top. So this is called a super glaze. This is a super glaze that you can get at your local Home Depot, wherever. You can order it online, and it's a 2-part epoxy. Basically, this super glaze is equal. It's a 2-part glaze. It's equal to 60 coats to 70 coats of polyurethane on one application. So it's a really awesome product, and you can put quarters and nickels, pictures and stuff like that, and then put it below this product, and it'll lock it in really awesome. So now I'm just mixed it up equal parts, and you got to mix it together for about, I don't know, 5 minutes. Just read the instructions, and then you pour it into the middle and you spread it out, okay, with a spreading tool. This is a tool that you use for spreading Bondo and stuff like that. You can get at your local Home Depot as well. Same with those measuring cups, because you're going to want equal parts. So those measuring cups have equal, they have the measurements on the side, so you can get that, and then exactly how many milliliters you're putting in each cup or what have you, as far as measurements go. Then we pour it in the middle and we spread it out. Now it is going to drip onto the edge, and that's off to the side, and that's fine, because this is a glaze, so you want it to sort of glaze over and give it that nice thick coat. And yes, there will be some drips on the bottom, basically the top, when you come back the next day, but that's all going to be sanded down, and it sands down really great and really nice. And then you want to pay attention when you put the top coat on that you don't have really any drips. So now I'm going to set it underneath my little workspace here, and then I'm going to cover it with the tarp, so that way it's basically dust free, and then I'm going to let it sit overnight, and then I'm going to come back at the end of the day, the next day, so it's been there for quite a while, and it's pretty dry and cured. And then you can see how nice it is with that bottom. You see how beautiful that glaze came out? I'm going to give you a close-up shot right now. So it came out pretty clean. I mean, it's gorgeous. You can see through. I put some of that JB Weld in that knot right there, and it came out really nice. And you can see how that, with the super glaze and that JB Weld locking in those walnut legs, that's really strong. You don't even need to put screws in it at this point. If you were to do this glaze and that JB Weld, it locks in the legs so strong, and then, like I say, the downward pressure locked on that 22-degree cut right there where my finger is pointing at, it really helps as far as keeping the strength, locking everything in and not allowing it to buckle, your legs to buckle. So you see I'm pointing out some areas where the glaze didn't quite spread properly. So when I do the top part, you can use a brush too, okay? You can use a brush with this product, and so I'm going to lightly sand some of the areas. There was a couple little areas that I want to smooth out, and so what I'm going to do is, when I do the top part, I don't really show it that much, but when I glaze the top, I take my brush and I brush all the edges again, and I'm going to show the top of me glazing the top, and then I take the brush and I just quickly use the glaze and I wipe it over the bottom. So that's what I do with that a little later. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be building some custom walnut plugs. Okay, these are wooden dowel plugs, and these are to hide the screws that I'm going to be installing. I'm going to be locking all the legs together. I'm going to be putting some cross members between both legs to give it some really strong support. I mean, I like to build my builds so that way they last for a long time. They're a really great product, and they're really strong. So what I'm doing now is I basically took a hole saw and I drilled a hole out, and I got that plug. And then now I'm taking a paddle bit and I'm making sure the right paddle bit fits for the right plug that I made. So that way, I'm basically demoing it, so that way when I build it on the table, I know that it's going to work out good. So you see there, that plug is perfect. So it could be sanded down once it's on the table, and it's going to come out great. So now I'm going to take these are going to be my horizontal pieces that I'm going to put on there. And and I just basically take a piece of walnut and I just dry fit it on there and then mark it, you know, just scribe it. You could take a clamp and clamp both sides so it's really nice, but I've been doing this for a while, so I know I can get it pretty clean with just dry fitting it like that. So then I'm gonna basically cut those marks, and then I'm gonna bring those pieces back, and I'm gonna make sure everything, you know, fits the way I want it to fit. Dry fits real nice, and the joints are all real clean. There's no gaps between the joints, and everything looks really strong and solid. Okay, and then you're gonna want to get some clamps. You're gonna want some wood glue, and then we're using 2.5 inch construction grade screws. They're zinc plated screws. So then now we're taking the paddle bit, and we're gonna be going through, and we're gonna be drilling through with our paddle bit, you know, about 3/8 of an inch in. Okay, and you want to test your paddle bit, make sure it's a nice paddle bit and it's not gonna grip and bite your wood and rip your wood apart. So you can test it on a piece of walnut before you test it on your legs. You actually do it. So now I took a pilot and I just drilled it through, so that way I have holes going through both pieces of the leg into the horizontal. And then I took that screw, the 2.5 inch construction grade zinc plated screw, and I dipped it in some, you know, carpenter's glue, and then we put glue between the joint, and we dipped the screw in glue, and then we screwed that in. And then we're also gonna put that wood dowel plug with glue and, you know, glue that in. So you see how I glue my joints? I glue both sides, and then I set that in there. That's a glued joint right there. And then I take my screw and I dip it in glue, and then I screw that in as well. And then you can see it really locks it together. You can see the zinc plated screws in there with the glue. Everything's locked down really strong. This product's gonna last a long time. And then I also want to throw a little piece at the top just to really lock, like I say, so there's no shifting in this piece. I mean, this piece is going to last for a long time, and you can technically use it as a step stool, whatever, if you want to. It's really strong. And so now I'm just basically taking my pieces, my screws, and I'm gluing everything, dipping it in screws, countersinking everything with a pilot and a countersink, and I'm going down. I toe-nailed it down through the walnut legs, and then it screwed even past into the live edge top. You see right there? I'm going in at a toenail. I'm using my countersink with my pilot, dipping my screws into the glue, and then gluing everything. And there's glue on the edges as well. So everything's really glued together really nice. And then we sand everything, we wood putty everything. In those holes right there on the top, we just use some wood putty, but you could use some wood dowels if you'd like and make some more custom wood dowels. But right here, here's where we're using the custom wood plugs that we made, because this is a high, you know, very visual area. We want the grains to line up and match up, and when we stain it, which if you're gonna stain it, we want everything to look like it's the same product, not like pine dowels with walnut legs or something like that. So we're using the same product, walnut dowels, walnut legs. Boom. Now that those are all done and we got our legs done, I'm gonna go ahead and sand the top down. I'm gonna get everything all ready to go, and then I'm gonna get basically all those edges, the little drips that came through off when I did the bottom. I'm gonna get all that ready to basically get it all smoothed down. So I'm using a disc sander, and we're using 220 and 320, and we're going through and sanding everything down. If you need to get in there with some 150, or 120 on some drips, and that's cool, but then you're gonna have to go, of course, 220, 320. So now we're mixing it all up again, mixing another coat of glaze. This is the super glaze, same product. And we're going to be taking this product and putting it on the middle, and then we're going to be using that plastic tool to spread everything around. And then we also have a brush that you can use for oils and stains, and it's a brush that I just use it for this product, and then it works really good. And then you can clean it if you want, or you can just throw it away. It's a disposable brush. It doesn't have to be a super high-end brush for doing this live edge work, especially since we're using it for the sides. So now I'm just going to take the glaze and I'm going to spread it all around, and we're going to get it all evenly coated. And then, like I say, I'm going to take that brush and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna hit it on the sides, and then I'm gonna take it and drag it through the bottom and brush the bottom, the honeycomb bottom, and give it a little coat. See how I'm brushing all the edges? And then I'll brush the bottom, which is what I sanded earlier. See, I'm brushing the bottom right now, and it gives it a really nice clear coat, you know, another coat over the bottom. And then see that heat gun I have right there too, because you are gonna get bubbles. And that's another thing when you're mixing this product, you wanna mix it in a nice process. You don't wanna shake it because you will get bubbles. Then you take the heat gun and you hit it with the heat gun and the bubbles will disappear. It's really cool when you're doing it. So there it is, all glazed up. And you can see how nice it came out. I'm really happy with the finished product. Now I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and then we're gonna be putting on the legs on the bottom. But what I do, I mean, not the legs, but the little rubber plugs on the bottom so it can slide around on the floor properly and not just be wood on the floor. But anyways, what I would like to mention is that we do also hit the legs, all the walnut legs, with a polyacrylic product, a bare polyacrylic product. We hit the legs with that. It's a water-based product, and it was a matte finish. I didn't show that in this video, but you can just take a standard, you know, brush and just give it a nice coat. But you see how beautiful that honeycomb texture came out down there? I'm really happy with this product, and it was really fun to do, and I really liked this build. And it was just from a piece of maple and some walnut, you know, that I bought. So the maple was laying around in the yard, and we bought the walnut, and we built this beautiful, cool table out of it. So you can see the live edge. It's really strong. It has a really cool look. Again, we threw a clear coat on the bottom, on the legs. And like I said, that was a polyacrylic bare product that we got from our local Home Depot. And you can use whatever you want for the legs. Actually, you can clear coat it with whatever you'd like. All right, last but not least, we're installing these anti-skid pads. And you just use a little pilot, give it a little hole, and then you can just screw them right on, okay? They're just like a little round disc of rubber. They're really great. It helps keep your product safe. It keeps it off the ground, so if you have anything wet on the ground, it won't actually touch the piece. And it helps them, you know, not slide around. They're anti-skid pads. So you can see how cool the honeycomb texture came out on the bottom. Yeah, with that stippling, I really love that texture. It's cool. And then you can see the plugs right there, the maple plugs, and you can tell that we clear coated the bottom with the product, the legs, the walnut, because you can see how nice that they look right now. And it's a matte finish that we used as far as the legs go. We had the high gloss, we wanted that contrast. There it is, all finished off. It was a cool, fun, live edge table project. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. co-know-pro out.